Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason. Here I am at New Dimensions, Crystals, and Reiki in downtown Brenham, Texas. It is, I think it is, March the 13th, a Wednesday. We do a report from Wednesday to Wednesday, and everything is crashing around you. The world's falling apart. Run and hide. Not really. Sometimes that's how it feels, though. So let's just get right into it. We usually start with the sun because it's our closest star for doing a star report. Why not talk about our sun? The sun's relatively quiet over the last couple of days. There are some sunspots that are facing Earth, but they're relatively tiny and uncomplex. And when they're uncomplex, that usually lowers the risk of them having a solar flare with a CME. So we'll pay attention if those get any different. You can watch your sun weather on sun weather channels on the YouTube and pay attention that you're not watching the ones that are doom and gloom and we're all going to die from a tiny little solar flare. We're not. It's going to be super big, and you'll see the sky light up if it's big enough to do something bad, and you'll have 10 or 15 minutes to do anything. But none of the ones that you don't see are going to do anything that bad. Well, that was just a lot of doom and gloom to start off the Star Report this week, Jason. I don't know what you're doing, but anyway, I'm going to keep going. The only thing facing the Earth sun-wise is a bunch of plasma filaments. Um, those things sometimes fall off or get peeled off and go out into space. Usually that's a lot of debris and stuff. For the most part, we haven't had a lot of plasma stuff that's come at the Earth, but it could always come at the Earth. So that's the main thing. There's a bunch of, if you look at the Earth facing part of the sun today, you see a bunch of those filaments moving through the sun's, I think it's the surface, just below the surface. I'm not as wise on the names of the depths of that. But the sun is did have a coronal hole that was Earth facing for the last couple of days, so you might have felt a little bit of pressure, heaviness, a little bit of sluggishness. Sometimes that sort of leads to a depressive state, but really it's more of a just heaviness and lack of motivation, and so that energy should be hitting that's starting to face away, turn past the earth facing part, and so we should be getting that coronal hole stream today. So sort of, if you've been sluggish already, just expect that to sort of have a little squeeze on you. That might be um, having an effect on your digestion system, right? So you might just sort of feel squeezed in that sense. Unless you're having a horrible diet, it's probably the sun. This week we're still in Pisces. So the sun sign is in Pisces. It's the last week of Pisces. We'll be moving into Aries next week. So look for that energy as we're beginning to switch, and just the nature of Pisces to be a I'll call it emotional roller coaster, but it's not an up and down. It's from emotion to emotion. Really is the thing that should be paying attention to. And then with the movement in of Aries, or the arrival of Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, so you might want to watch out for your anger. They call it passion, but really it is sort of like you can be triggered easier when Mars ruled things are dominant. And so, yeah, pay attention to that. And then also Aries and Pisces is, bottom of the feet, base of the spine. And then Aries is really about newness and starting over at the zodiac. So we'll be back to the crown. The crown is, the golden fleece. So higher mind stuff, maybe even here at the pituitary gland at the top of the head, you could be feeling pressure and or pain. Maybe irritation, could be tingling, like downloads and extra energy coming in. But that's just some things that you might pay attention to in the body that you would feel this week. Well, this leads us to today, Wednesday. And the energy of today is really with this transition of everything that's sort of happening in the sky. It's almost like the energy is like the last day of a retreat, right? You've learned all these nice things, and you can't wait to go implement them in your real life, right? So it's that kind of, you have a lot of things that you've discovered, and there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of endings and beginnings, right? So we're here at the end of Pisces, getting ready to go into Aries. And sometimes that energy is like a resurrection of the mind, where all of a sudden everything was slow, but now there's some enthusiasm and the ability to move into that enthusiasm. So pay attention to that kind of energy today. Chiron is dominant in the sky, so you might also be in need of physical rest, right? So maybe your body's tired, and then that coronal hole pressure could be the same thing, right? Um, so pay attention to your body, especially help your body release all of these. Chiron is really sometimes about old hurts and wounds. So pay attention that you're helping your body release and not carry those wounds unbeknownst to you into the new season. That's Wednesday. Thursday is Pi Day 3.14. Thursday the 14th, March the 14th. The idea or the feeling of the day that you're going to get from it being Pi Day is really this idea of infinite possibilities, right? So it's an infinite number that never really ends. So it's a encouragement of the day to continue to pay attention that all the work that you've done, this end of the retreat, this end of the contemplation, this moving into action, that you really can do anything you want, and you can create satisfaction with the work that you've done today on Thursday. And then Pluto is going to be messing with the moon. So I believe they call it a square. Pluto is squaring the moon on, I know they call it a square. Pluto is squaring the moon on its way to the full moon, which is coming up in a little over a week. And it's also going to be a full moon eclipse. And so Pluto also is really going to be the kind of energy of releasing old emotional wounds, right? Deep-seated stuff that you don't really pay attention to a lot. And just sort of think of it as this is the final clearing, right? So Pluto and being here, equinox is coming, full moon is coming, eclipse is coming, change of season is coming, right? So just sort of think of this as the final clearing on Thursday. So you might, I don't say you're going to be emotional, but you might just sort of have some aha moments. And really the energy is such that, oh, I'm glad I let that shit go. I'm really a lot better. Not necessarily like, oh, I need to do a process or I need to do a meditation or anything like that. Although, if you're having difficulty doing it, you may do that. Sign up at newdimensionscrystals.com for a session. I'm booked up probably till next week, but if it's not working for you, then I am always here. Leads us into Friday, the 15th. After Thursday's release, you have that's cheesy that I wrote it that way. You have a can-do attitude, right? So really, nothing's really in your way. And that's sort of like when you are avoiding a hard conversation and then you haven't, it wasn't that bad, and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I can do hard shit. That's going to be the energy of Friday, right? So when you sort of let go of all this old emotional shit that you didn't think you were carrying, or maybe you didn't know you were ready to set down, and it wasn't that hard, it wasn't that difficult, you feel lighter, you feel different, you feel better. That's the energy of Friday, leading us into Saturday the 16th. Saturday the 16th, we start to begin our retrograde season, but it's all the pre-shadow stuff. So nothing's going retrograde on Saturday. It's just the pre-shadow, and we're starting with Uranus. Um, it's how they're supposed to say it so you don't make people giggle. Uranus. Um, and of course, that pre-shadow is happening and is aiding the full moon eclipse and the spring equinox. And so Uranus is really about quick changes and sometimes unexpected changes. So really look for Saturday to be a change that is likely beneficial, that you weren't expecting out of all this work you've done on yourself. So Saturday, the weekend, woohoo! Unexpected goodness is headed our way. Into Sunday, Sunday the 17th is St. Patrick's Day. So we've got two fantastic holidays this week, Pi Day and St. Patrick's Day. Sunday is going to be exactly 1 week to the eclipse. And so think of the idea when you're thinking of St. Patrick's Day and the energy of the cosmos. Think of the spiritual history of Ireland, and their connection to the moon, right? So, depending on what you believe about St. Patrick and what he was there to do in snakes and so on and so forth, really the arrival of St. Patrick was really the beginning of the end for the divine um, worship of nature, or the engagement of nature and the embodiment of the moon. And so going by the cycle of the moon was a thing up until then. So really think that towards this full moon, this equinox, this eclipse, that the energy of Sunday is really this reconnection to the cycles of the moon and the deep hidden things. And then even sometimes, the sun is masculine and the moon is feminine. The rise of the divine feminine, or the engagement of your feminine side, would be a thing to happen on Sunday the 17th. I think that's all. It's on Sunday. Yeah, and Monday, you just really not much else is happening. You just want to really anticipate the culmination of all this stuff, right? So this is a whole bunch of things that are happening. Monday, you might want to take a breath and sort of see how that all goes, and anticipate the week ahead, right? That everything that might be shifting, all of the unexpected things that might be happening, are really um, getting you ready to act in the spring equinox season, right? So into the Aries season. Think of it as Monday is really, you've done all the preparation you can, you've worked out, you've ate right, and the only thing left to do is to run the race. And so you're just sort of running over the race in your mind on Monday, about how it's going to go on Sunday when the eclipse happens and all that fun stuff. Leads us into Tuesday, the 19th, I believe it is. And that is our second pre-shadow, right? So we're going to have some planets going retrograde in April. And that pre-shadow is Mercury retrograde. We all know Mercury. Oh, Mercury retrograde is so bad. Uh, Communication, travel, right? And so sometimes technology slows down, and or communication shifts, right? So if the energy is of communication, maybe it is person to person, but not through digital technology, right? So it might be wise to focus on your ability to sort of contact and interact through the mind, through the consciousness, not through the devices. And so pay attention to that on Tuesday. That's usually as far as we go. We'll be back here next Wednesday to talk about that week in the star report. Of course, I mentioned it in the show. Um, by the way, like and subscribe. I really like having a bunch of y'all, and I really think this information is good to share. Just sort of, if you're going to go outside, you want to check the weather, right? And if it's the rain and the sun aren't explaining how you feel or the nature of your mood, then maybe it's the stars. So I'd like to give you a little heads up on that. So like and subscribe, share the video on YouTube and or Facebook, wherever you see it. And of course, if you need to come see me in person and you're in the Brenham, Texas area, by all means, come by the shop. You can find us at newdimensionscrystals.com. You can book a session on there, or you can find out the address and come by and see when we are open. Check social media. I know I've been out a couple of times in the past month or so, and people who don't follow me on social media didn't know I was closed and maybe traveled a little bit far. And I apologize that you made a trip, but it wasn't for nothing. We definitely appreciate that you tried to come here. And until next time, everybody, many blessings.